let's see here. Turn this down a bit. What are we gonna play as a soundtrack today? This'll do. All right. Just a second. All right. Now I'm ready. Overlay, go away. We might need those terrains. Number 2 and map type custom, that's all fine. So we are going to try to recreate this map as this scenario as a random map script. And then afterwards, if I have time, well actually no, afterwards I'm going to work on hyperrandom. No, if I have time, it's something I need to get the next update done there. It's almost done. Let's do this first though. So. Base terrain is going to be these shallows. Yeah. Alright, we can also, Eminence Hill, yeah. Today is like the 19th-ish. 5, yeah, that'll do. DLC Water 5 is actually correct even, isn't it? Then we want... And now it gets interesting. What we want is... We're gonna have to create lands and assign them to players. And essentially, we'll deal with the exact details for more than 2 players later. For now, we'll just get the basics down with 2 lands, so... Assign to player 1. Land percent 100. Let's get the stats of the land down first. 100% land position. For now, 0-0. So let's say like 75-50. And then we have left. I need to check which borders are which. We also need a terrain type, don't we? It's gonna be jungle grass again. Base size is irrelevant this time around. Zone is gonna be important. Other zone avoidance distance, though, is gonna be 0. Circle radius we don't need. So let's say I did something like that. And let's just feel this already so we can see where the land is. There we go, that should be good. Anyway, there's going to be server maintenance, that's why I thought it's actually a good time to be streaming, because people can't play ranked. Okay. That is, in fact, not what I want. So what's going wrong here? We need direct placement. Direct. Okay, good. And now... like that. Yeah. And then instead of putting it on 50, we can put it either on 40 or 60. Just do 40 for now. Something like that. Alright, let's do 60 and 40. Yeah. Alright, yeah, that's the wrong border we want. Top border, and we only really want like 10% maybe. That looks good. Yes, I would actually like it to curve at the ends, which it's not doing right now. That can be fixed later. And like border fuzziness needs to be a bit higher. Make it fairly adherent to the border. Bit of roughness, but not fundamentally straight. Good. Also, this water needs to be DLC new. Nope, no, not there. New shallow. Good. Then we can repeat this for player 2. Then we'll deal with other players later. They're going to end up being in a line formation. 60, so essentially we want 40 on that axis and 25 on this axis with the same borders assigned to player 2. Yeah, something like that. Now let's go back to our example. Okay. This slight curvature, I was hoping that would appear naturally. I can probably force it to appear a bit if I go like right border 0. Maybe we need to do more than 10%. Let's do like 12%. There needs to be enough room for this terrain behind it. Alright, so we've got those two lands. Then essentially, I think this area I can create with terrain. By creating... to steal some terrain generation section. Oh. Create terrain. Jungle Grass 2. Base terrain. DLC new shallow. Percent. It's like let me just. Yeah, 100 land percent, 9,000. Yeah, this. I have all of this. Basically this. And then we want spacing to other terrain types of, let's say, like 8 or something like that. Right. We're also going to want, I'd say, I think the two forests definitely need to be lands, and they will look like that too, probably. I create them as lands. Great terrain, rainforest, jungle. That looks like a jungle to me. Doesn't really. This is the rainforest. Let's make it a jungle. Jungle, land percent 100, land position needs to be 50 on this axis and basically like 2 on this axis. With really minimal border fuzziness, not assigned to players. It should be zone 1. And the borders top and bottom need to be like 45, and then the left border needs to be like 85, something like that. Let's see if that looks like it should. Nope, I positioned it wrong. Good, but also not good. Why is it not sharing a zone? Other zone avoidance distance 0. Alright. We're gonna have to work on that. Jungle grass 2. Great terrain. Well, I'm supposed to be creating jungle. What the heck did I type here? We're creating jungle terrain on new shallow. No, we're not creating jungle terrain. We're creating jungle grass 2 on new shallow. We're not saying 8, we're only saying like 5 tiles away. Yeah, and now we just need to get a bit closer, even only 4 tiles away, and we need to increase these borders. Alright, we also need to add another zone of avoidance distance of 0 over here. 15, 15, yeah. How do I deal with this shit? Why are we creating the base terrain in between? It's sharing the same zone. It has another zone avoidance distance of 0. We probably need to expand how much space it's given. Why is it generating shallows around it? This is a bit the issue with terrains. What if I rearrange it and create this? But I get rid of these borders that don't exist. Does that help my cause? No. It has no effect on my cause. Where's my hard-coded rounding? Why is this creating a separation? I think this is a matter now where I have to create this one first. Right. What if these were different zones, like 1, 2, and 3, and each of these had a zone avoidance distance of 10. Lands that share a zone should be able to grow to touch each other. What's going on? Yeah, that's... Yeah. So that works. I'm gonna have to see. So if I... Zone 1, 2, 3. So let's say both players have the same zone. Okay, so the one player's goes here, but why is this still an issue? I guess I could create... Alright, there is another way to solve this. So if I did this, then it should just go away. I could create this water with a land. Or 2 lands, which might be what I have to do in this case. And in this case, we're just going to make it dirt so we can see it. For all intents and purposes, this is going to become a reciprocal land. Yeah, let's create the players first. They share the same zone, though. This should actually work. Maybe I need to assign them to players after assigning the zone. One of these, maybe that'll help. Shouldn't, but make it worse. Basically no effect. Alright, let me just check what I have in the RMS guide about zones. I might be able to hack this to work the way I want it to. Definitive random map scripting guide. I can show you guys what I'm looking at. Firefox, go. Assign to player. Assign to zone number zone. If 2 lands in different zones and other zones specified, land growth will avoid touching the other zone. By default, lands from create player lands are each in their unique zones, while lands created with create land share the same zone -10. So I could just give all of them the zone -10. I'm willing to try that. Yeah, we're gonna try that. Land ID. Yeah, okay, that's... yeah. Otherwise, I've got another trick up my sleeve. Okay, that did not help. One bit. I mean, what if the border fuzziness is... this? Does that make a difference? No. Actually, I mean, theoretically I can work with this. And I'll show you how. Oh, can I? So instead of dirt, we'll make this just normal grass. Right, now you can barely see it, and there's normal grass here. Then what we do is in terrain generation, we create terrain. DLC new shallow on grass with a spacing of, let's say, 1. Take a look. Right, and then we increase the spacing to 2, and then we should never have that issue there. Alright, I mean, that has achieved the look I was going for. We can make it a bit rougher here with the border fuzziness. We also want to add probably this area needs to be a bit bigger, at least around the corners. Okay, let's see. Forests. Create the other one now. That one should be at 250. Top border, bottom border are the same. That's about right. Maybe this land needs to be a wee bit skinnier. Alright. Let's go back to our example again. I mean, yeah, we don't have the corners being bigger, but that's fine. These forests are even a bit, they are fairly skinny, really. They do have stone on them, which we can deal with. Alright, yeah, so they're fairly skinny. We can up this. We can go back to 45 on this, I'd say. Then, yeah, this is good. We need an elevation generation section, though. We don't need any of this stuff. Steal an elevation generation section. And, okay, the back area has no hills. I can achieve that because I've used a different terrain for it. This area does have hills, and it has pretty tall hills. Go by size. Let's just do this. See what it looks like. Good, but we need more. This is perhaps a bit too skinny. I mean, at this point we're just tweaking numbers, really, but... Right. And elevation happens before terrain generation. Put it here. We want... give us like 5,000. Alright. That is the other extreme. Which we could actually go for. I think not, though. 2,000. So exactly where they are is random, but, you know, there needs to be some randomness on what's going to be an otherwise rather static map. I would almost say we have... well, it's 25 clumps is pretty good. We could add more lower elevation clumps as well. I could also add a land in the middle that is just elevated. That would look like something like this if we did here, center. Guess we don't need the other zone avoidance distance if we're not. Yeah, let's put a mountain in the center. Then we need to do less with elevation generation here. So if you have any questions or anything, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I will keep working away here. Terrain type should be DLC jungle grass. Well, let's make it desert so we can see it right now. Alright, we want it small base size. Alright, borders. Basically, comparable borders to this forest are actually pretty decent. Or fuzziness. It's fine. We could even have I think we go even fuzzier for this. And then we go base elevation 7. Alright. That creates a big hill between the players. It certainly does. Then we probably need less of this. I would say the hill in the middle can be much skinnier. Like... something like that. Probably not as fuzzy as well. Like, that basically ensures there's a hill in the middle. Of sorts. I think we keep the fuzziness. What if I made it even skinnier? Oh, not here. I could do borders that go past 50%. It's not a player land, so I can do that. What if I did, 55 both sides? How would that look? Very small. That won't do. We can also make it not go quite as far. Let's say it's like 33. Yeah, something like that. And then we say it's not desert, but it's jungle grass. The jungle grass. And then we get rid of any... We say that the water is only generated at elevation 0. Height limits 0, 0. We can probably even place something fun on that terrain now that we have it. Alright, that gives us a hill of sorts in the center. Pretty consistent, actually. And then we have the other smaller hills around. We might need a bit more of those. Maybe I reduced it too much. They can, you know, if we do this, then they can merge. That's perhaps pretty hilly. Ooh, something like that. Let's also say that they aren't as tall. Make them like 5. 5 tall. Alright. Pretty good. Alright, let's go back to the example and see what else I'm missing. I think forests are next. Yeah, okay, so I made a hill that is larger in the center than the one here. But I think I will keep that for now. Can always make it less, but I'd like a tall hill. Then we just have basically bits of jungle scattered around here. They can avoid other terrain types. That'll keep them off the hill. That'll keep them away from the shallows. Yeah. Alright, so this is basically the back area. Great jungle. Base terrain. Grass. Land percent, like 1%. 20 clumps. So scale by groups. Spacing to other terrain types. Yeah, 4 is probably reasonable. So we'd want that there. Then, you know, main area. Same idea. Great terrain, DLC. Rainforest. Base terrain, DLC jungle grass. Also the spacing, we're gonna need more. With similarly sized clumps. Probably I've made too many clumps anyway, so let's just see what it looks like. At that point... Oh, and then we want like these tiny little spots that shorefish can spawn in. those, if they really are supposed to look like that, then what I need to do is generate them individually, which is tedious. So I think I will just generate a couple. And let's go here. Well, basically create terrain DLC water 5. Base terrain DLC new shallow. Land for center. Basically, actually what we need to do is number of tiles 1. 1. And then doesn't really need any spacing, but what's going to happen is they're going to merge. So actually I need to do a bit of a terrain replacement where we first create shallows. We create a shallow, then we turn it into a new shallow. And then we repeat that a bunch of times. That's probably what it's going to take, but let's just start with this. Alright. That would be it, other than adding perhaps a bit of cosmetic terrain mixing. Yeah, okay, so these are too small. They're in the right number, I'd say. But they're too small, and they also need to avoid player start areas. Set avoid player start areas by like 15. Double the amount of terrain allocated to them. I think we reduce the number of clumps and increase the terrain some more. Yeah, that's better. Then, where's our little one tile of... It's there. If I just repeat this... I mean, if I did number of tiles... If I said, 100 tiles, and number of clumps is also 100, and then set scale by groups, theoretically that should work. What's going to happen is they're going to merge, but if I do it... Good enough. I mean, it's too many, but yeah. That actually worked far better than I thought it would. Out of the box. And I guess we don't need to repeat this 50 times. Yeah, something like that. Perhaps even still too common. And once I make them rare, then we're going to have the issue that they are not evenly distributed. That's going to be the ultimate issue, I know. I want to avoid having to hardcode too many things, so pretty good. And then eventually what I'm going to have is I'm going to have 4 possible player positions. And in a 1v1, I guess we'll randomly pick one of the 4 for each player. 4v4, then we have all 4 players, and they'll be in an order. Hi. Ooh. Queens, where are we? I was going to figure out why these forests aren't being generated. Specifically these, because I didn't try to put 2 there. Very good. They are way too small. That's better. Let's have them further away from the water. Yeah, that's about right. Perhaps have them larger as well. Alright, that is in fact too large. Pretty good. Pretty good. I would say. I would say we're solid. We can still do fun stuff with this hill. Or just generally with the hills. Where I could do some sort of... I could mask them with a different terrain. I could mask the central hill with a different terrain. If I create the hill... I mean, if I create the hill and make it... It's DLC jungle grass. What if I just create it... What if it's, I don't know... Dirt 3. Then we end up with something like that. Which looks reasonable out of the box. Then we can put stuff on there if we want to. Right, example. So let's check. Let me just check when the server maintenance is. Are we getting there? 1 more hour. Let's keep working. How we get this half wall, that's going to be fun. That's why I wanted to do this map overall. So I think perhaps I have a few too many wood lines as well. We did something more like that. And they can be closer to players. Alright, so resource-wise... there's stone around these wood lines. And then other than that, there's some back resources which should probably be... Presumably they should be fair. That would make a lot of sense. Although I could just have them be random as well. Like, I'm tempted just to scatter gold and stone randomly throughout the map. Let's just take notes on what we need to do in terms of resources. Terrain generation... Alright, so let's see. Woodlines are done. Palm forest. We could take this terrain mixing. Just swap in some terrain mixing for visual appeal. It's always a good idea. Water mixing we don't need. Connections. Don't see why I would need connections on this map. Alright, then we're basically in the objects generation. We've got the town center. We're gonna want the villagers. And then we have to now theorycraft, I think, about getting this wall as well. I guess we could do that first before we worry about resources. We can worry about getting the wall. So, my initial thought was to have some sort of actor area close to the map center. Or one at the map edges that we're avoiding, something like that. The difficulty is then scaling it to map size. Which is not entirely straightforward here. How do I... There we go, good. Cleared that out. Let's see where we are. Woodlands look better. Extra terrain mixing looks good. At this point, though, maybe grass isn't the right terrain to have here. What could we have instead of grass? For this. What if it was grass 2? Grass 3 is... One of them is lush, one of them is less lush. Grass 3 is the one we want. That looks better. Yeah, just some cosmetic mixing. I think the rest looks fine. As is. We have used... we used Palm Forest? No. Don't need that. Right, let's get that wall sorted. So... Alright, let's keep the wood lines a bit further away so they don't interfere with our wall plans. Play the wood lines. Well, I'll just make the wall and then I'll probably put the wood lines even further away. Right. So, I think what we need now is an example of like round hideout. And that'll do in my random map scripts folder, in my random map dump. This one will do. Yeah, alright. We're gonna need an on-grid placeholder. And we're gonna do this after the town center, but before anything else. Then... oh, this is way too complicated. We just want to create a round wall. It's going to be round, it's not going to be orthogonal or octagonal. Someplace for every player. Alright, we're going to have to avoid some sort of actor areas. We're going to want circular placement. Avoid actor areas. Yeah, we need to set up actor areas that we're going to avoid. We want a maximum distance to players of like just say 16. And also a minimum distance of 16. Alright, let's just start with that. Okay, that is too strict. That's better. Like, I could work with that and then just slice off the back. Which could be as easy as placing an invisible object on the water. Or having it just avoid the shorefish or something dumb like that. Because the shorefish are consistently enough placed in this water. Although, if I'm going to do it, I should do it properly. So that in that case, I would need to place a blank object. Dead Constable Richmond. I could also place something that we can see, but... Alright, let's just place a flag A. Yeah. Create object. Flag A. Set place for every player. Find closest. Terrain to place on. DLC. I could just place it on the beach. And place it on the water. DLC New Shallow. Right. If I did that, you should see a flag. Right. And then we give the flag an actor area. And that's going to have to depend on the map size. Let's just give it an actor area of, say, 20. Radius is actually 20, and then we have this one, avoid actor area 20. That's the general concept here. Well, that basically did it. We just need the wood lines to buzz off. Probably make this a bit closer to players. Like here, that's 16 tiles. One, two, three, 6, 7, 8. 8 more after the TC. I like the idea of having a partial wall. And it's nice and easy to implement. Alright, here we only have like 4 tiles, so we need to reduce the wall distance, definitely. And then we're gonna have to scale it to map size. So just, we reduced like 4 off of this, 16, so 12 to 13. Alright, that's a bit too close, so like 13 to 14. Basically, alright. We got a bit of a forward half wall. And then we make this one... I could make this one smaller. We made this only like 18. I might have to put it further back and make it larger though. Because we don't want this to happen. So if I put it on this terrain instead. We do 25. Then the wall gets super small, and then we have to place it on a terrain that's more consistently far away. That will be this back terrain here. Terrain to place on... jungle grass 2. Okay, good. basically 25. Let's make it like 22. And honestly, this can just be actor area 1. We're not using so many actor areas right now. That's like a half wall. Perhaps a bit too big, but like that's basically what we're going for here. Alright, then we need the woodlines to buzz off a bit further. Player woodlines. Yeah. Then the flag needs to be something invisible. Okay. Good. So at this point, guess we distribute some resources, yeah? But we can even do the stone already around these lands. That's fairly easy to do. That requires us to give these, let's say, a land ID of 10. ID 10. Let me go over here. Comment here like on fight forest stone. Create object stone. Let's just steal some stone generation. Number of objects 2. Number of groups 4. Min distance like 10. Group placement radius doesn't matter. Groupings, set object only. Set place for every player. Set place on specific land ID. Place on specific land ID 10. Find closest. Circular placement. Min distance group placement. Fine. Avoid forest zone 2. Yeah. Access to other zones. We don't care about those. Min distance to map edge. Sure, we'll keep that in. That should just do it, right? Basically. And then we just need, do I have some sort of, I need some sort of scaling. Set scaling to map size. Then we're gonna get 5 already, which is, so we go like that. That way it'll scale up when we have more players. Perfect. Alrighty, we can put the shorefish in the little puddles. We're gonna need to do some sort of thing here too. We're gonna go on grid placeholder. Distance group placement is irrelevant. Temp though we're gonna have of like 3, so they're not super close. Terrain to place on. Water 5. And second object, shore, fish. Hello. There we go. Now, the number of shorefish, I didn't specifically balance per player. That would be doable too. I placed them as player objects. If I gave each player 25 shorefish or something, put them in the closest ponds to them. Maybe I should do that. So in that case, I'd say, alright, number of objects, like 20. Set place for every player. We'll start by doing a lower number, like 10. Set place for every player. Set guy object only. So we do something like that. We'd also add a min distance of group placement of 1 to keep them from other players from overlapping. And then we say find closest. Yeah, we just put them in the closest ponds. That then creates shorefish close to each player only. And then we can do, you know, the scaling to map size. We get a few more. But they're mostly clustered around where the player is. And then we could say, or we could just give more of them. And there are, is that saturating all of the possible spots? Probably. Even that is basically saturating the possible spots. I guess I don't need to keep them 3 apart. We can do something like that. That ensures that each side has the same number of shorefish. Okay. Just have to do a bit of typing. Alright. We don't need African huts. We do want regicide support, and if we have regicide, where would we put the castle? I think we put it behind, right? Probably. We place it before the villagers? Was it after the villagers? Let's go like that. Let's place it after these villagers. Now we put it... Set circular placement, 9 to 11. Find closest to map edge. And then we just add in define regicide. Yeah, basically a backward castle. I think that's fair. Cool. Undefined regicide. Right. Resources. let me see what the scenario was doing in terms of resources. So each player starts with 4 berries, 4 gold. Let's write this stuff down. Four berries, 4 gold, 2 times 1 stone. Alright. I'm just gonna give 4 sheep. Right. At that point we have deer forward, but we also have random other deer. I think we just put 4, 4. They're technically they're ibex, aren't they? Forward. Oops. 4 ibex on the hill. We might merge these two things. Well, this map only has, or this example only has 4 here, and I don't see boar anywhere. I do see 2 more groups of 2 deer sort of back. Oh, there is a boar across the river. There's 1 boar across the river. Is there another boar anywhere? You have the shorefish, though. And then we have some neutral berries. I have to find the right balance between it being symmetrical. Like, I'm not going to make a special resource cluster in each of these 4 locations for the relic and such. I have to think about this. That's only 3 ibex, actually. Let's see, I don't know. 1 boar across the river. Okay. 2x2 sheep by the river. We can put them on the river, or just near the river. Then, you know, 4x4 berries. Bush neutral. 4x4 relics neutral. 1 relic hill. And then for the rest of the resources, you kind of do want like the same amount for each player, that's the thing. So what do we have? Like 4 stone, 3, 3, 3 gold. It's a... All right. So what is this like? Do I count this as a group of 2 stone? We just probably just merge the stone. 2x2 stone across the river. 3x3 gold across the river. That's all doable. Because I have a different terrain there and I can find closest to map edge and it's not going to find across. What's going to be tricky is the rest of the neutral resources, which is essentially these 3 things. Also this. Okay, those can be assigned by player. What did I say? 4x4 relics neutral. 4x, 3 gold, neutral. I also want to design it so it scales up well, so we might have to think about that a bit. And then let's do 2x, 3 gold, far sides. Okay, what do we start with? Sheep. We can also do these things are easy to do though, because they're in specific places. And we're using actual sheep, which I could change to a different animal, but we'll keep sheep for now. Ah. Let's also create the boar. This map didn't have any boars, did it? Fine. Actually, all the stuff that's across the river should be done separately, like we can do near resources across the river. It's the river. Direct 4. 1 grouping doesn't matter. Place to players. Find closest. Basically we use find closest. You're on the far terrain. Avoid forest zone. So place for the player, find closest terrain to place on. Grass 2. That's the we can also do the hill, the central hill as well. Near resources across the river. Hill. I can steal some relic code for that. I just needed something simple. This is too complicated. Big player land by the water. This will do. I think some of these resources are going to be scattered a bit less fairly than they are here, just so it's not too predictable. This is a map for a dino. He had 4 maps, but I'm not going to make all of them. I think I won't have time for when he needs them. But I picked out the ones that I found most interesting. And that I can sort of do as a random map still. Hill. Right. Create object relic, number of objects, 1 object only, is a place. Nope. I mean, actually, yes. It's a place for every player. Terrain to place on. That place for every player. Place on specific land ID. What's the land ID for this land in the middle? Land ID 5050. Might as well use the coordinates of the land. Specific land ID. Terrain to place on. What do I have up there right now? Something like grass 3. Don't need to worry about that. let's just start with this, see what it looks like. Okay, the relic didn't get placed. Nothing got placed. Okay. The sheep are there. Good. The boar is not there because there's water separating it, and boars don't actually like that, probably. Place for trying to place on jungle grass too. So probably what I need to do here is blank object. Let's just place them on a plant, honestly. Second object. I probably am missing, actually, wait. I think I know what the problem is. Set place for every player. Set Gaia object only. That's more likely to be the problem here. Yeah, there's boar. Alright, what are we missing now? We were expecting to have this relic on the center. So maybe the center isn't grass 3. What's the center? It's dirt 3. Grass 3 was not the right terrain to use. Dirt 3, there we go. And there's still no relic. Ooh. Why do we still have no relic? Probably we want to do something like this. We don't need set place for every player for things that are not actually being placed for a player. Still no relic. Damn it. Should fix it. There we go. And it can be somewhere on the dirt. At random. Very nice. Okay. More resources. This extra relic code can just go. And this is not a good example to work with because it doesn't have, like, berries in it, which I need. I can't steal the code from that. Yeah, steal them from hideout. There we go. Keep. We only want 4. Do we care about this actor area business? Not really. We can add a max distance to other zones of... We kind of wanted to stay away from the wall, and we also wanted to stay away from the water. So we do, like, this, then we go to our wall, which is here. Actor area. I need to actually make an actor area system for this. 6. 6 is perhaps too much. Let's do 4. Actor area 4. It's 4 and avoid actor area 4. If I do that, I just don't want them like at the wall. You can probably be a bit further from players. Perhaps a bit too far. 10 to 12. Okay. Then we essentially do the same thing for the gold. And we now do want it. Well, actually, we just straight up use this code for the gold. Perhaps put the gold a little bit further away from the players, though. Effectively, they'll always be kind of like this, though. They can be both on the same side sometimes, right? That's good, so you can't guarantee that you know where they are. 2 times 1 stone. That's a really low amount of stone. But okay. Stone, number of objects 1, number of groups 2. 2, set type grouping, doesn't matter. Oh, and temp and distance replacement like 20. And probably an avoid forest zone if we don't have that yet. Avoid forest zone of 2. Add that for the others here as well. Almost too predictable, though. Might be too predictable. I might have to adjust that. Right. 1 boar across the river, 2 temple and stone. 2x 2 sheep by the river. How am I going to do that? Grouping? Distance group placement. Fine. Access to other zones we don't care about. That we do want. Let's just see. I think because I have this land in the middle, the sheep will naturally gravitate towards the outside. Now, it hasn't created any for some reason. Because I said stone and not sheep. Very good. That would do it. I made one group of two. Two groups of two. Make them across the river. Honestly, that's fine. They don't need to be. If they're across the river or whatever, that I don't care. Forward is something I'd less like to see, but even that's okay if they're not like super forward, which they can be. We can just give the relic a huge actor area. I could also tell them to be placed on the beach. Might make them too easy to find. I think it's okay if they're sometimes forward, you know, go ahead and scout. Worth scouting a bit. Alright, then we have 2x3 gold even further away. Number of objects 3. Set tight grouping. We don't care about the group placement radius. 18 to 24, we want like 22 to 30 or something. Something like that. Min distance group placement 2. Void forest zone is fine. We want these to be real far apart from each other. See what happens if I do that. I don't care if these are closer to the river. I do care if they're too close to the players, though. Let's do max distance to other zone of 2 as well. So they're not right on the coast. Okay, that's basically the player resources done. They can be forward. Do I want to put something in the middle to avoid? Or do I say, nah, it's okay if they're forward? I'm inclined to say, well, we might just have to contest forward a bit in that case. They're never going to be right in the center. Alright, 4 Ibex forward. Great object. Ibex. DLC Ibex. Number of objects 4. Number of groups 1. Set loose grouping. Average only. Set place for new player. Here we're gonna do find closest. And we're gonna do fine. Void forest zone, okay. System zones isn't gonna matter. Temp distance group placement isn't gonna matter. Then we're gonna do terrain to place on dirt 3. Well, what's this terrain? Isn't this like grass? Grass 2? Where do I have grass 2 in my script? Grass 3 would be the one. I could also put a different terrain on the slopes of the hill. Let's see. That grass 3 that I can clearly see here apparently doesn't exist. That is definitely grass 3. But okay, fine. Let's say it doesn't exist. I could also do it differently. We say find closest to center, and then we say max distance to players of, say, 20. That should do the trick. Yeah. And then you have to break your wall if you want to put them in. That's the general idea. Then neutral ibex on the hill. Great object ibex. VLC ibex. Give these ibex some sort of actor area. I shouldn't be just assigning random actor areas, but as I said, I probably won't need enough that it matters. Verb objects 3. Oops. 1 that scaling to map size. And instance group placement. And also avoid the existing ones. Or have I been I've been pinged about the server maintenance that's beginning in 15 minutes at this point. Means we've been at work for 2 hours? Almost. Alright, so it didn't actually create any. Presumably there isn't room for ones that far away. Well, let's just make the radius of these. This is dumb. 2. Shouldn't be naming the actor areas based on their radius. Let's try that. That gets me an extra group of 3, and then if the map were larger, we'd get more. Yeah, that's fine. And if it's sometimes only 2 because it didn't work out, that's also fine because these are neutral resources. Like here, there's a stone missing. Presumably I need to be a bit more generous in the radius distribution for where things like this can be. And allow them to be closer to the river as well. We end up with a stone pile forward. Fine. Sometimes it'll just be that way. I don't want it to be... Like, it would be possible, and not even that hard, to script it so that, you know, the stones are always there, and then you have, you know, berries here, gold here on this side always. But then, what's the point of scouting? Like, the positions are already known. We don't need to. Although, I just had a fun thought. At least for 1v1. The 60 is where we currently have it. We could just have, like, R&D 40 to 60, or like 30. I mean, the positions, if we had 4 players, they would be like 20, 40, 60, 80, right? I just do like 20 to 80. For more players, of course, we have to actually give them spots, but like this. I've never used R&D in land position in such a varied way. I like this. Okay, there might be cases where the resources don't spawn properly for each player because I'm now shifting things around a fair bit. I might have to work with find closest. Alright, 80 might be pushing it. Let's do like 30 to 70. Just for testing purposes. If I do like the minimum, if I said this is 30 to 75, that's totally fine. Yeah. $30 to $70, and also $30 to $70. I like this. Direct placement, but actually still random. And yeah, what's going to happen is Dino's going to come back to me with generations where resources didn't spawn properly, and then I'm going to put in find closest on stone, sheep, probably on all kinds of things. And get rid of the maximum distance. For now, pretty good. Okay, so I like that. I really like that idea that I just had. My books on the hill. Alright. That was done. I guess we could do these things across the river and then scatter the rest of the resources neutrally. So, across the river, 3x3 gold across the river needs to be something along the lines of trade object gold, number of objects 3, number of groups 3. If I were to do this and like avoid map facing to map edge, was it avoid map edge? Wait, let's just find edge. Min distance to map edge. That's what we need. This is not going to work because gold, this river is a restricted terrain for gold. So here we actually do need to do trade object, second object. And then we end up with this mess. Oh, we don't want blank object. No, we want on grid. create placeholder. Then we want like screen placement of 25. We want set tight grouping. And then of course we have this business where it sticks across the river. Kind of do need find closest. We don't want it on the beach. I would need to put actor areas on the beaches and avoid those. Which we can do. We can do that. Could be useful to have. Object. Blank object. Number of objects of 0 to 20. Scaling to map size. Actor area. Or area radius of 2 and temp min distance group placement of 1. Second object flag A just to make sure it worked. And oh, we need a terrain to place on. Place on. Let's see. Shallow. Right. Now, we go to our gold. Avoid actor area. Probably gonna need to give it a bigger radius. This thing definitely needs a bigger radius. Oh, where did I create them? If I just got rid of this, and we flood the area with that. Ah, that's better. Give them a larger radius. Then we keep the gold away from the... Then we keep the gold away from the water. Now that gives us a super predictable placement of where the gold is. Do I need find closest? I kind of do. Which is unfortunate in this specific case. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't actually need find closest. Instead of find closest, we're gonna do min distance to players, I don't know, 30. Max distance to players of 60. we go. Better. Well, sometimes there isn't quite room for them. Maybe because they're avoiding the forest. So go like that. And give them more room to spawn. I just don't want them spawning across the river on the other side. That needs to be avoided. Okay, cool. Alright. So this is a good lesson in, I guess, how to place resources if you want them in specific locations when you have various constraints. Sometimes it's as easy as saying, alright, find the closest tile to these wood lines, that's where we want the stone. Sometimes we need to avoid certain actor areas. Then the 2x2 gold across the river, we can just copy this code. Do exactly the same thing. Number of objects 2, number of groups 2. This thing also needs like a min-distance group placement, which we don't have. Probably this boar should have a min-distance group placement as well. 5 maybe isn't necessary. Alright, we have our 2 piles of 2 stone in various locations. Perfect. Alright. So, just a few more neutral resources. All of this stuff we can just go. Birds. We'll keep birds as well. I don't remember if this example had any birds, but we're going to put in some macaws, just in case. Alright, so the neutral resources. We're going to do scattered reds. For this, we essentially do create object. We'll start with the relics. Number of objects 1, number groups. Oh, actually, for this we can just do 4 objects. So. We don't scale to map size. We don't need grouping. Wow, we have a lot of set guy object only on this one here. Cut that one out. Put it here. Then I think I just want to see what places are still available for them. So let's create 40,000 relics. Just see where they would go if I had no restrictions. Alright, very good. We have a lot of space available for relics. And now we can start adding restrictions. So, terrain to place on DLC jungle grass. This is actually a good exercise as well. Like, you can spawn things everywhere where it's possible, and then you can sort of restrict it and see what you end up with as remaining spots. Like here, now we've gotten rid of relics spawning at the back. Now, of course, we have more restrictions we can add, like min distance to players. Say we wanted them to be at least 25 tiles from players. Placement. that keeps the relics this far away from players, which I think is reasonable. And let's do an avoid forest zone, just to keep them from getting trapped. Okay. Then I think we don't want them quite so close to the river, so let's avoid the actor area of the river. Okay. Do we have any other places here where we see relics where we think they shouldn't be there? Probably don't want them too close to the center either. Where did I put this relic on the center? Actor area. Oh, we can have it as an ID and as an actor area. Actor area 50-50. Actor area radius. This is actually a really nice way to work out if you've given resources enough places to spawn, right? Then we avoid. No, we're not avoiding the right actor here. Okay, that keeps it out of the center. And at this point, maybe like these back areas wouldn't be so good. I don't care, honestly, if they're right at the edge of the map. But maybe let's add a... what was it? Avoid min-distance to map edge, yeah. Add just something here to keep them out of the extreme corners. And now we need to make sure that there's enough room for 4 relics to be placed always. Because sometimes when the players are on one side, they will have squeezed this terrain into a pretty small area. But I guess then it would be fine if there were 2 over there. It's a good way to visualize where something could be placed, potentially. Yeah, I'm fine with that, right? And now we say, you know, instead of 4... we go like that, and we add a temp min distance group placement of 20. And then we realize, oh shit, they're still not balanced. But like this time, they're not particularly balanced, so probably we need a bit more spread on these. Yeah, like that. Basically, it's a matter of giving them the biggest min distance you can without having relics not spawn. Like if I do 30, then it might almost be too much of a cross shape usually with the relics. I am going to get complaints that the relics aren't fair, but I dislike putting them in very specific places. This is normally a cross shape, but not always. I think this is a good relic distribution. And I haven't seen missing ones yet either, so that's good. So, then let's do the gold neutral. The gold... yeah. It is. It is. Because what you end up getting to a fair distribution, and then suddenly you have, oh no, only 4 relics spawn sometimes. And then you have to make it less fair. Or you make it so that it's so predictable that players can just send a monk in that direction and they'll find it guaranteed, but that's no fun. Objects, 4 times 3 neutral gold. number of groups. And these we actually do want to scale. Set scaling to map size. Avoiding forest zone. Avoiding the center. I think that might not be necessary. And then that edge can be avoided by like less. Say. We did this with gold. Just for fun. We can do the same business here. Looking where all the gold will spawn if I do this. All the neutral gold. I'm sort of fine with it being in most of these places. Although it needs to be further from players. That's because we're already giving players gold. Yeah, that's better. Like you don't want it interfering with the player gold. Yeah. Wow, it's called Hill here, but it's supposed to be called Eminence Hill. Okay. Groups. 4 groups of 3 objects. And they need to be doing tight grouping. Set. We have like one there. Couple ending up here. And we need to add this back so that they are nice and scattered. And then we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Perfect. And then we just do exactly the same thing for the berry bushes. We also... These didn't have a min-distance group placement, did they? Man. Ibex had a 2. The relics, it's fine. Let's give them like a 1. Gold here should be more scattered. DLC or DLC fruit bush. It is an orange, but it was an orange bush after all. Orange. Oh. These groups have 4 though. Placement radius 2. So one of the forages didn't find a spot here. And, well, so be it. That's the last thing being placed. Can't always be fair. Now, there's one more important thing we need to do is deal with more players. I think the map is otherwise... Let's just check one more time. Eminence Hill. It's not 100% the same, but it's pretty good, I have to say. I made the hill bigger. These back wood lines are also a bit further from the players. Like, I did not give players guaranteed wood lines, and I don't think I can easily do that on this map unless I use some sort of advanced tricks with foundation terrain and turning straggler trees into forests, which I don't want to do. So we're not doing that. Looks good though. So, right, more players. I need a map where I can steal this code from for more players. Something like a linear placement map. This will do. Alright, so we can already be a bit... It doesn't need to be a specific player. We can do assign to at team 000. Then it can be... So it assigns it to a random player who doesn't have a land play. So then red and blue aren't always in guaranteed spots. That's good. And we're going to have to do if 1v1 else. And at this point, I need some code. If two-team game. So 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, and each of those, I will assign them properly. On like a 3v2, do I want to support that as well? How much work would it be? I mean, I could essentially just assign them to random players on each team, but players like having ordered selection. Okay. Okay, I think I've... I need another map that I've worked on. What else do I have here? Round hideout, test, wilderness, the land doesn't need to exist if the player doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So I think we need basically 4 lands here. Do we do 2v2, 3v3, and 4v4 separately? If... Oh, we need to add more here. If... Actually, we don't. If 2-player game. Else if 2v2. 2v2. Else if... I don't really like doing this, but else if 4v4, else no even teams. So in a 2v2, we should have one at 40 and one at 60, I'd say. Or one at 35. Yeah, one at 35 and one at 70. And then we want basically something like if T1 this is T1 down. We assign it to a random player on team 1. Else, we assign it to a random player on team 2. And if. Yeah, basically we have that for 2v2. 35 and then 75. And then here, for the other players, we want one at this is the top team. So if team 1 is down, then this needs to be assigned to team 2. Otherwise, team 1. I think that just works for 2 teams, so let's try this. The players are correctly positioned, and I see a goodly amount of neutral resources. Probably everyone has their resources. The actor area this thing needs to scale with map size, though. This one here. Nope. This one here. If map size... Oh my goodness. I need some code for this. I can copy. Size. Tiny. Else if map size. I'm just gonna we really need something where we can just scale an integer based on the map size. Size medium. This is what Tiergarten was supposed to look like. Interesting. I like the half walls. Cool idea. Did I save changes? I did save changes. Alright. This needs to be even bigger, like 23, 25, 27. Yeah, that's better. Now here, of course, the positions are no longer random. I could randomize them somewhat. Perhaps. Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, if we're going to do it, we do it properly. So, 35. So let's say that can be between 30 and 40. There's going to have to be less random the more players we add, though. That's clear. And this one can be... Right, 75 is not correct anyway. It should be between 60 and 70. 75 was too high anyway. Other than round or square, yeah, that's tricky. That's pretty close. Maybe we don't want them quite so close, if we can avoid that. 30 to 35. Or what if we do like 25 to 35? And then 65 to 75. It just gives some randomness, I like that. Probably going to be issues where the relics aren't fairly distributed. 1, 2, 3, 4. That can be addressed at a later date if it's actually used for team game things. Also, this back distance, of course, is going to get larger. That's fine. I think I've already coded it, so that's fine. Okay, 3v3. Now the real fun begins, because we actually want them in a specific order, theoretically. Where do I steal code from this? Like, linear arena is something I need. Not this, I need linear arena. ZN linear arena. Nope. Yeah, this is the much more complicated one. I could even do this. And then just place it on for a random player on the team. Yeah, sounds like a cool concept. Don't really care if they pick fixed positions in the lobby. Two-team game. Actually, no, I do care about this stuff. However, I can... Ah! Hello. Welcome to my map scripting stream. 3v3. I could support slightly asymmetric teams. If I do something like this. Alright. Okay. I basically just need to copy all of this shit here. If I want to do this properly. 4-player game. All the way to here. 4-player game, then just indent this properly. We already are saying it needs to be a 2-team game, so that's doesn't need to be in there. I am making this map, which is, at this point, based on a scenario, and the map is done. I'm just supporting more players on it now. 1v1 is done, 2v2 is also done, and now I'm just trying to add support for more players. If you want to ask anything specific about map scripting, I can certainly answer that. I'm not going to let myself get too distracted today, but probably let myself get somewhat distracted anyway. Okay. So this stuff we can delete. Good. So if 2-player game is done, else if 2v2 is done, then we do this here. What's going on here? Why is it not collapsing properly? Else if. Why is it not collapsing properly? I must have ended it. If 2-player game. Oh, maybe I'm missing something here. If, else if, end if. There's an end if here that doesn't belong there. Yeah, now this looks better. Cool. So, yeah, 2 players, done. 3 players, I think we use fixed coordinates. I think I don't vary the coordinates anymore. Just do 25, 50, and 75. I am hard coding them, but kind of, because I'm copy pasting, so it's not as much work. I don't like doing too much of it, though. So for 3 players, we can essentially take something like this and say, all right, this one's going to be 25. Then we put one at 50. And we put one... I could vary the position slightly, but at this point, the map's pretty crowded, so I think no. 75? Right, and then we steal one of the bottom ones. Lots of copy-pasting, so I don't actually have to type everything by hand. Now, am I placing them... I'm just placing them in lobby order, right? That is technically... but the alternative is I would have to require them to pick the correct colors in the lobby, which... yeah, I'm not doing that. Alright, 3v3 is done. So if we load my 3v3. Okay, I messed up one of the coordinates, it seems. Yeah, I did. Okay, now the wall is round, though. That's also an issue. Because we need to go here and continue this here for larger sizes. So map size medium, map size normal. I think that's the map size we're on right now. Yep. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, so where you are on your team is random. Also the elevation, but that's just Age of Empires being unfair with hills despite balanced elevation being specified. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, let's do 4v4. I will steal code from the 3v3. It is a bit tedious the way I'm doing it. So let's see, 20, 40, 60, 80 are the coordinates I need for this, right? $20, $40, $60, $80, and let's steal one of these. So, oh, what did I steal here? That's not what I want. Steal this one. After this, I'm going to take a short break and then work on Hyperendum a bit, if anyone's interested in seeing that, and it isn't too late for you yet. It's starting to get late for me as well, though. 20, 40. So on a direct placement map, this is the type of thing I'd usually do. Something like this. And if it's a tournament map, then you can rely on them picking the correct colors, and you can actually say, place them, you know, put a specific color in a specific place. Here, I don't think we can rely on that. Yeah, it makes it more balanced, but it doesn't actually make it balanced completely. Unfortunately. Alright, 4v4. And we're gonna have the round walls again because I didn't choose a radius yet. But overall, the map looks fine. Like, resources are scaling up. We've got neutral resources. The relics are unfairly distributed, as I predicted. All is well. Okay, let's deal with this. Sif. Size. I'm going to use the new nomenclature here. Large. We just keep increasing it by 2 and hope that that does the trick. 29, 31. I mean, these are slightly too big, I want to say. I think it's okay, though. Probably all of these need to be, like, one larger still, even. Even here. Keep it a little bit further away. more map sizes. So if they do huge, that's the former gigantic size. Let's say let's just increase it to that. I'm not going to support the ones that you need special launch options for. Although maybe I should. $32, that would be 34. Okay. I guess let's just go through and keep adding 2, see where that breaks. So after huge, we have giant. Pick giant, okay. Then we can do enormous, massive. I don't know if anyone actually uses these exercises. One day they'll probably be added into the game proper without needing a special launch option, but only after the DE maps have been reworked to accommodate them. What comes after massive? Enormous, colossal. Right, enormous. Colossal. Oh. This I have to hard code so that the wall gets partially cut off. I could have something a certain distance away from players. That's actually a thought. If there was an object that was finding the closest to the map edge, but it had a maximum distance to the players of whatever. The only problem is that the players in the corners, the map edge is the same distance to the back as it is to the side. So they could end up with walls facing the wrong way. I think we keep this. Colossal. Incredible. These are going to probably require bigger numbers. Monstrous. That is a ludicrous urge. Alright. Go. Massive. You also run into the problem that these maps generate more and more slowly, although this one's holding up pretty well. Also, at this point, look at this amount of stone that we're generating around these forests. Probably need more neutral resources at the back too. But I don't really care about these sizes that much. Incredible. My +2 rule is holding up surprisingly well. Monstrous? Ludicrous. Alright, ludicrous is where it's gonna fail. If the map generates it all. I mean, not bad. I expected a full circle. Yeah, they can get a bit of a bigger wall on Ludicrous. That's fine. Alright. Then I'm done with this map, I'd say. Load our 1v1 again. Oh, I'm actually not done, right? I just... let's say we had, this, and we had like 5 players on it, and they're not on teams, then it doesn't generate anything because I didn't handle the case of unteamed yet. So for that, we just need the 4v4 code. And we simplify it. Where we just say we just assign it to a random player. Assign to any player who doesn't have a land yet. Okay, done. Well, rip. Perhaps I should rearrange the order. Do like like where the yellow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like cut out every second one of these and put them at the end. Alright, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the one across from it. Yeah, I need to be clever about this. Oh, let's just have 8 players. No. Think. I don't want this first. I want the blue one coming first. Yeah, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I will generate the map with 8 players on it so that I can have colors. They're not teamed, so it'll still do this. It's going to be used in like a smaller tournament. And then afterwards, I will have a map that I can add to my workshop. I honestly, I like this one. I like the concept of having the half walls, so I wanted to try it out. To try out making it. Because I also had an idea for how I could make it. Okay, I want the red one to be first. Then I want the gray land, which is the second to last one. Alright. Then I'll take the teal land, which was number 4. It should be this one here at this point. Then I will take the green land, which is the 5th one. It's the one here. Then at that point, we can add in, after that, probably the purple one, which is at 60, 25. Then once we've done that, we can add in the orange or blue? Orange, let's add in the orange land, the final land. Just so the players are a bit more distributed if they aren't completely full. Then what do we have left? The first land there, sure, and then whatever this one is. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, and let's say we only had 5 players, as before. They would be kind of distributed. They will still have those positions, but at least it's a bit random. Probably... whatever. Good enough. Yeah, so it was based on this scenario. And then the other two scenarios which I did not turn into maps. I did this one on a previous stream, where we then have more players around here. And we're thinking fake player land here. The other ones... This one here, like I could do this one, but I felt it's very... Like you could almost just play this as a scenario. There's not much need to have it as a map script. Yeah, okay, where exactly the resources are, but... Like this, you could just play it as a scenario. I could also script it, but... it also would be tricky to decide where to add more players, so I wasn't so interested in doing that one. And the final one, as an idea, was the one with a neutral wall in the middle and then double TC start. With the neutral wall, we have a couple maps that do this. That's not that special either. Yeah, basically. Maybe I will still do some of these later. So let's just... We currently have maintenance for another 2 hours. Very good. Shorelines. Yeah, shorelines we did last time. Huns, tiny, standard. That's fine. What should I tell the AI this? I just said custom, what the map is. There are official maps that look like this. There's the one with this giant hill in the middle. I don't remember what it's called, one by Cruzini. No, well, actually, I mean, if you want to test it, sure. I don't want to play it right now. I believe that the concept should work. But maybe a later time. Kilimanjaro? That could be the one. No, we're not... it's... Wow. Alrighty. Hill? No, that's not the one I was thinking of. Nope. Mountain Ridge. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah. Because I think the tournament version even had that back river. Or at least like a version of it had the back river even. I could even make the central hill taller. That's a thought. That could be a fun thing just to do. Because I'm using... Yeah, that's an idea. There's this flat area here, which is of course nice for castles, but what if I just... Where is it? The hill. What if I just went, like, 15 here? Then it just gets a bit hillier at the top. Sure, we can have a chat on Discord. I'm going to be kind of busy in the coming time. Like, this was one I had promised to do this earlier and haven't gotten around to it, so I'm doing it now. Alright, yeah, that's good. I like adding this as a bit of extra. Right, so the other task that I want to do, I think this map is done, is I want to update Hyperrandom with various changes. Namely... improving the adding neutral resources when when it spawns like a Mishi style map or an island style map, so there aren't so many areas dead with no neutral resources. Before I do that, though, I'm going to take a short break, grab a drink, and so on. I'll be back in a moment. I'll also pick out some new music, since we've listened to the definitive. What do we want to hear today? I can offer AoE 3. I can offer AoE 2. This was currently AoE 1. I could also offer like Empire Earth or something. Play the Empire Earth soundtrack. Yeah, I'll be back in a bit. Alright, I'm back. So, yeah, this one's gonna get a bit more technical, this part of the stream. Look at the inner workings of hyperrandom. I have to figure out where I was, but essentially I have hyperrandom can generate central land, which is gonna have ID 2, or has ID 2. Can generate fake player lands that spawn sort of on the circle between players. Those have an ID of 1. It can generate lands in the corners that have an ID of 3, and generate lands in the sides with an ID of 4. And what I want to do is place neutral resources on any of these lands if they exist, in the situation where I have either a forested map or a water map. Because if I have an open land map, then I'm just scattering resources everywhere. But on forest and water maps, I place resources per person, and it means that a lot of these areas usually don't have anything on them, and the maps generally are a bit low on gold. Was the impression I was getting. So, let's see where we were. Also, I'm gonna have to take a short break later to get my pizza out of the oven. Other map resources. So for some reason I was here in the script before, looking at side oysters, default straggler trees. Scroll a bit. Yeah, so I already did it for the relics. Where, scroll a bit more. That's neutral markets, that's all fine, yeah. So I was saying, if we have a relic rush, like the middle is full of relics, then we don't need further relics. Occasionally I'll give a free relic very close to players. This was happening all the time on these island and Mishi maps, and I didn't like that. So I'm changing that. And then relic rush, yeah. And then essentially to try and keep the relic count from exploding when there are too many neutral lands, I'm saying that if there's a central land, then we can put a relic onto it. If there isn't one, but the second category of lands exists, then we put one on that. If there's none of those, but the corners exist, then we put relics on those. And if there are none of those, but things on the side exist, then we put relics on those. So in our example that you see right here, we've essentially placed 2 relics on the center, which from the code you'll see can happen. Oh, where's my pad window? The number of them placed on specific land ID 2. Should only be 1. Or maybe it's a double center. It's probably a double center, so that's why there are 2. Let's just generate a few more to take a look at that relics situation, just to get back into the setup for what I'm thinking. So 2 relics there. This is just an open land map. This map has the fake player land areas. Those are currently generating some resources. This, I don't know what setup this is using. This is generating resources per player, and again on the fake player lands. So this triple node, if you've been playing a lot of hyperrandom recently, you will have seen that as well. That's on the fake player lands. Yeah, I just want to... And here, okay, we're now putting the 2 relics there, but could also use more wood lines on these, honestly. Yeah, so let's see what we can do about that. Relics are done, right? Relic on corners, yeah. So basically what we sort of said is center is land. Yeah, okay, fine. Standard resources. These are the normal resources. If deathmatch, this is just player resources still. What are these scattered resources? Okay. So, on Island Mishi, you start with extra gold. And then, otherwise we scatter resources around the map, on the open land map. We'll scatter resources around the map. And then, regardless of that, we're always scattering these resources around the map. It seems. And this end if... So this if deathmatch else ends here. Something... Yeah, this is gonna get a bit technical, I'm sorry about that. If personal resources, if else, and if else, that's not personal resources. Else, and if. So basically, I'm saying the extra animals are also in this code though, right? This is an else. This is an else from the scatter resources evenly across the map. So essentially we're always scattering the sheep. We're always scattering these things. Wildlife. And then we have an end if that's ending something, but it's ending something that's higher up. What is it? Else? The end if is ending this. Okay. But we still have something. Alright, so this... I need to put in a comment here. Happens always. Right. And then we were placing resources on these lands that are between the players. Which is good. We're just placing berries, gold, and stone. If between lands exist. Let me just search for that line on the other side. That's just between lands exist. I think we don't want to do that if they're assigned to players, though, right? Like if they're double player lands? Or maybe I did that specifically to provide resources. But then they don't have that ID anymore, right? Between lands exists. So if no between lands, else between lands. If double player lands, they have... And otherwise they have land ID 1. So we will place it on land ID 1. They don't have that ID when it's double player lands. So otherwise we place berries, gold, and stone on that land. Just in general. Which is fine. and we're also putting deer on it. And that's what we see in the example that I have in the background. Where we placed deer gold berries on this land. And we're always doing that. However, could we be doing better? I think on an island setup, we could be adding more stuff. Like, if personal resources. This is an end if. This is an if between lands exist. We do that. If this is just a death match. This is the nomad, and this is the overall between lands. So what I'm going to do is put an extra chunk around this. Let's say oh wait, do we always? I guess we can just always do that, but we do more on island maps, right? Yeah, I think that's fine. Alright. And here we sort of have rush types for different types of maps. So we could do a between rush as well. I need to think about this logic a bit more. Basically, the logic needs to be like... so we can do either just like a few basic res when it is on a land map, or we do resource rush. Few basic resources. Alright. Few basic resources when it's on a land map. For center and corners. You guys can't see this right, but I did put it back. Good job, me. Yep. Alright. Yeah. I'm sorry, this part is going to be less interesting unless you're very interested in how hyperrandom works in the background. Center and corners. But hopefully, for those of you that do stay, will have a better appreciation. And better be able to recognize how it works, perhaps. A few basic res on the center and corners, then resource, center and between. We can even do corners, though. Any land, alright. Or forest. Sorry. Place a few basic resources. Alright. And then we could do else. We could do a resource rush. Else resource rush. Maybe not on sides. Not on sides. Else, we could place more basic resources if it is land or forest on a personal resources style map. I think that's the case I need to handle here. So essentially, And we have to see here, maybe to, like, did I add any extra code for this? Allow corner rush, allow side rush. Allow relic rush. The between lands can basically count as a center, right? So allow side rush, corner rush resources. Just find rush. Corner rush, side rush, relic rush. Alright, then let's just add another one here. Just be like, define, allow, center, rush. Do we even do that on hyperrandom light? I have this thing here. Why does... Why did I not find that when I was searching through here? Oh, yeah, I say it's always true. Allow center rush resources. Place center rush resources. Center, allow corner rush. Alright. Yeah, let's add between rush, and we'll allow that. We'll allow that. Alright. Define. Allow between rush sources. Also, if you want to ask me anything, you can. Need to answer questions. Okay, so we added an allow between rush resources. So let's deal with the between area first, right? If personal resources, else, so end if. This always happens, end if. Play sources on between lands. Now we need to go to my thing here. A few basic resources when it's a land map. So the general structure would be to say... Make it new. We say, you know... If... Allow... Between rush resources. Then we choose how often to do it. And then do something like this to decide how often we actually do it. So it'll be something like, yeah. If the center is land, it's a water-based map. If there are no connections, this is a special case, so it's a water-based map, no connections. I think for between rushes, because they can be shared with the player lands. Oh, I need to focus on this. I need to look again at my between lands. It's a lot of complicated logic that I thought of that's a mess. What are player lands here? Player lands, right, between lands. And then I say... Essentially, we want something like this, right? Between resources. Allow between resources, I want to say between is land. It's land. A water-based map with no connections. I think I don't... Actually, we can do that. We could just copy, yeah, use the same logic that we have from before. Alright, so between is land. If it's a water-based map with no connections, place between resources. Like a high chance of doing a rush-style map if it's isolated. And a lower chance if it's not. Yeah, that's fine. Then our next part of the code needs to be basically if place between resources, else if personal resources, else and if. Well, then we go here like rush style. Personal resources is gonna be just neutral res. I'll be back in a second. Just need to go. Back. Place. Maybe I can do this more intelligently. How would I do that? Like, I could immediately decide what kind of resources to place on it. It would be something like if between lands exist. Then we say if between land basically the structure from above, but I would predetermine what kind of resources we put on it. If water-based map, else if forest-based map, else that'll be a land-based map. If and else if between is forest, else if then if once I establish this, I can use the same structure for all four of them. Rework how they spawn. Between is water. Actually, it's just two shallows. Else if between is water. And if if land-based map. So what do I want to do in each of these cases? If it's a maybe I should care first about what kind of base the map has, and then decide what I do with each of these cases. On a land map, if it's shallows, well, actually, just if it's shallows, and it's, you know, extra fish. Now, basically, fish rush, fish, oysters, hunt, theoretically. Can be on shallows. Here only fish and antiquity oysters. Right, that can happen between is shallows. Between land is shallows, but alright. Hunt not on water-based maps. This could be like, this could be rush resources here. Yeah. And if it's forest, then if connections exist, this needs to be even more specific though, if all lands are connected. I can even do that already. If connect everything across forest. If we haven't done that, then there's no need to even do anything here. In this case, then there would be some space to put there. Some resources, but not a full resource rush. There's not enough space. Right. And then we have the case where it's a land. Between is forest. Alright, where the thing that we've created is actual land. If it's land on a land-based map, then small rush or just a few. Okay, small rush. We can have just a few localized resources. Something like that, right? And if it's a forest-based map, and the lands between are land, it's basically the same business. We can have a small rush, theoretically, or we could have a few localized resources, because otherwise they'll spread out too far. Few localized resources, yeah. And then if it's a water-based map, then all bets are off. Like at that point, you can have, it's a land on a water-based map. You can have, rush resources. You can have, many neutral reds. I think we should have either of those things. So that's the decision tree that I need. And then essentially we need a chance for each of them. Where, like, this is the water-based situation. Alright, so then we just need a few more comments. We do rush if allowed. Between is land, water-based map. Make it more likely when no connections. Rush more likely. Connections. No. I mean, that's basically this. Make it more likely when there are no connections. Else make it less likely. Yeah. Edit here. Repeat for center, between, corners, sides. And probably we start with the center in that order. Yeah. I think that's the sensible way to do it, and then copy code for random resources section. I think that's the general plan. I also think that this is not realistic that I'm going to do this tonight. Even if I copy and paste, it's still it's going to take a couple hours. I kind of wanted it done for the hyper random games that are happening in coming days. However, I have a train ride tomorrow, I can work on it then. Otherwise, I think this might be more of a task for the coming weekend. Because what I'm doing then is I'm going to rewrite Center Rush, Central Island, Corner Rush, Oysters, Corner Fish, Side Rush, Side Fish, and then I'm going to do that whole thing again with the random resources. It's a lot of copy pasting. Maybe I could do it. However, I've been map scripting for, I want to say like 3-4 hours now. I think I call it a night and do this another time. Like, it would be the same thing here. Like, right, this island here, I would place more resources on, and not all super close scattered there. And these islands also could have some gold and stone on them, where they typically don't. But often these are useless to go to in the current version of Hyper Random. And then maybe also I'll make myself some more notes. I'll make myself a note to add forests on lands that look like this. I also have to deal with situations like this where the side is accessible. Where, yeah. Watch for players are too close to the sideline. I can catch this case, though. Make myself a note of that. This is a fish rush. It's ugly. Alright, I think, yeah, I'm gonna call it a night. But I've worked out the structure that I can use to turn this into useful stuff. And that will also allow for a bit more variety than what we currently have. Maybe I can axe the neutral resources, like the neutral food sources on island maps as well. Yeah. Are there strikes happening? Didn't check. Probably. Good work, though. Yeah. Alright. I think that's it. I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. And my game crashed. This is not a joke. Like, my game just crashed right now. While I was trying to exit the scenario editor. I was trying. I can't even type in this window. I clicked to exit the scenario editor. their report. Yeah, we'll see. Alright. Good night.